Usually when we talk about a hotel, there's this baked-in expectation of a transaction.
Right. Yeah, it's purely binary.
Exactly. I mean, you hand over a credit card, a receptionist slides a little plastic rectangle across a granite counter, you sleep, and then you leave.
Yeah, it operates basically like a spreadsheet.
Right. Room 12 is clean, room 14 is vacant, it's efficient, it's sanitary, and honestly, by design, it's almost entirely forgettable.
And that's the thing. I mean, the architecture itself in modern hospitality is it's structured entirely around erasing presence.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, the moment you leave, this army of staff descends to wipe away any evidence you were ever there. A hotel room is supposed to be, an eternal blank slate, just a ledger of occupied space with literally no memory.
But stepping into the source material for today's deep dive, it just breaks that transactional ledger completely.
Oh, it completely shatters it.
Yeah. We are looking at a landscape of hospitality that is, well, it's murky, it's deeply beautiful, and it's alarmingly alive. The walls here aren't blank slates at all.
No, they're more like sponges.
Exactly. They're absorbing the grief, the joy, and the absolute quietest moments of the people inside them.
Which really redefines hospitality, right? Not as a business of providing beds, but as the intricate, often really messy art of receiving people exactly at the moment they arrive.
So for everyone listening, I want you to just imagine sitting on a quiet, wraparound veranda. You're in this wooden rocking chair.
That sounds perfect right about now.
Right. You have a perfectly brewed cup of coffee in your hand. Its warmth is just seeping into your palms, and you are looking out over a wide, slow-moving stretch of the Missouri River.
It's a summer morning.
Yes, a summer morning, and the air smells like damp limestone, river water, and old cedar. And you are sitting here with two lifelong friends discussing a truly remarkable book.
And that is exactly the atmosphere we are stepping into today.
Yeah, as we explore the masterful craftsmanship of Episode 1 of A Summer at the Parlor House.
And we're doing this by looking really closely at the spiritual ancestry of the text. The actual mechanics of the writer's craft.
The nuts and bolts of it.
Exactly. And the deeper philosophy of why comforting fiction holds such a mirror up to our own lives. Because the Parlor House, this historic 19th century mansion turned hotel sitting on a bluff in Atchison, Kansas, it is not just a setting.
No.
It isn't just some passive backdrop where the characters simply perform their lines.
Right, because the maintenance man, Samuel Braddock, he tells us straight away in those opening pages, the house has opinions.
The house has opinions. I love that line.
It's so good. It breathes, it remembers. And that insistence that a physical structure has agency, that immediately brings to mind a very specific lineage of literature.
Oh, absolutely.
Reading those opening chapters, I just felt like the ghost of G.K. Chesterton was practically hovering in the entrance hall.
Yeah, you can really feel his influence there. Because Chesterton's core philosophy, it was this insistence on finding absolute wonder in the mundane.
Right.
He believed that if we look at the most ordinary things in the world with the correct lens, they reveal themselves to be entirely extraordinary. And the author of The Parlor House maps that exact philosophy onto the daily operations of a hotel.
But wait, I have to push back a little here.
Sure, go for it.
Is it really Chestertonian if it's so quiet? Because, Chesterton is usually so bombastic.
That's true. He is very loud.
Yeah, he's writing about men throwing swords around in London suburbs, or these massive earth-shattering paradoxes, or anarchists in disguise. But this book is incredibly quiet.
It is very gentle.
So how do we reconcile the sheer volume of Chesterton with the gentle atmosphere of the Parlor House?
Well, it's true that the volume is turned way down, but the underlying theological posture is identical.
Okay, unpack that for me.
So Chesterton elevated the mundane through sheer force of rhetoric, right? But this author elevates it through meticulous, reverent attention. Take the grandfather clock in the hotel's entrance hall.
Oh, right, the one that strikes 11 times at 10 o'clock.
Exactly. From a purely utilitarian modern standpoint, it is a broken machine. It fails to tell time accurately, so it should be discarded, or at least gutted and fixed.
But Samuel Braddock doesn't view it that way at all.
No, he doesn't. He peers inside the wooden case, looks at the gears, and just concludes, this one likes being important.
I love that. He grants character and agency to wood and iron.
Yeah, he posits that a house this old and the objects within it have had longer to become themselves than most people have.
Wow.
And that refusal to see the world merely as dead, disposable matter, that is pure Chesterton. It elevates daily, mundane hospitality to a philosophical, even theological art form.
You really do see that theological weight applied to the most domestic tasks. Like Mr. Beaumont, the general manager, he insists that a hotel without a physical, leather-bound guest register is merely a build-em with invoices.
Which is such a brilliant distinction.
It really is. But my absolute favorite example is Rosa Delgado, the executive housekeeper.
Oh, Rosa's the best.
She is. So there's this scene where a young, terrified staff member drops a tray of spoons in the dining room, and Rosa doesn't just scold him for clumsiness.
No, she has a much bigger perspective on it.
She issues this very specific warning. She tells him that if he had dropped the fruit bowl, the consequences would be theological.
Right, theological. She treats the dropping of a fruit bowl not as like a fireable offense, but as a cosmic disruption of order.
It's so funny.
The humor there is wonderful, but it also establishes the rules of the world. In this house, the care of physical things, folding linens, arranging roses, pouring coffee, it carries real spiritual weight.
Because the material world matters deeply, since it's the vessel for human care.
Yep.
And that humor feels so specific, too. It's a very gentle, almost farcical eccentricity. It really channels P.G. Wodehouse.
Oh, heavily. Especially through Theodore Beaumont.
Yes. He's this wonderfully optimistic, slightly oblivious figure walking around in navy suits that immediately lose their argument with the June heat.
And his ties.
His ties. They always feature tiny gold steamboats or umbrellas.
Beaumont is just a fantastic architectural achievement in character design. I mean, he is constantly declaring these numbered rules of hospitality that he basically invents on the spot.
Right, and he can never remember the numbers.
Exactly. He'll declare a rule and then completely lose track of the numbering system, eventually just stating Rule 7, never number your rules.
It's brilliant. And what about the scene with the leaking vase?
Oh, that's classic Wodehouse right there.
He decides to put peonies in a visibly cracked vase. Naturally, it leaks water all over the mahogany front desk.
Of course it does.
And when Rosa confronts him about this blatant failure of logic, he defends himself by saying he thought the flowers might give the broken vase a sense of purpose.
To which Rosa just deadpans, they have given it evidence.
It's just brilliant dialogue. Or the arrival of the Reeves' wedding party.
Oh, boy. With Aunt Pamela.
Yes, accompanied by Aunt Pamela and her dachshund, Winston. Winston is wearing a blue bow tie. He immediately escapes his leash and eats several cocktail napkins.
As one does.
Right. And then when Mr. Beaumont very politely invites the dog to sign the guest register, Winston just flatly refuses. It's pure, joyful comedy.
It is. But what's really crucial to understand about the mechanism of this comedy is that it shares a lineage with writers like James Herriot or Jan Karon.
Oh, I can totally see the Jan Karon connection. The Mitford series has that same warmth.
Exactly. Because in a lot of modern cynical fiction, eccentric characters are often just the butt of a mean-spirited joke, right?
Yeah, they're set up to be knocked down or mocked by the savvy protagonist.
Right. But here, the humor is never cruel. The eccentricities are treated with profound affection.
Nobody is rolling their eyes at anyone else. Well, at least not with malice. Like, take Mrs. Fairchild.
I adore Mrs. Fairchild.
She's this formidable, crisp, elderly woman who brings homemade pies to the staff. But she spends her entire time in the parlor fiercely debating 19th century bridge architecture with Dr. Bellwether.
Who is a very stern railway historian.
Very stern.
And, in a lesser narrative, Mrs. Fairchild would just be flattened into a caricature of a busybody, and Dr. Bellwether would be the pompous academic.
Just one-dimensional tropes.
Exactly. But this narrative respects their intellect. The author understands that their fierce debates about cantilever bridges are actually a profound form of intimacy.
Oh, wow.
They are connecting through the safe, structured language of historical architecture. The hotel just accommodates their quirks. It absorbs their eccentricities and creates a space where they don't have to, sand down their rough edges to be accepted.
Dr. Bellwether's introduction is such a perfect example of how the hotel absorbs that baggage. He arrives, steps up to the front desk, and just asks Abby Mercer, our young protagonist, if the hotel has ghosts.
Right out of the gate.
Right. And Abby says they haven't noticed any, but since a wedding party is arriving, by evening they might have several women in white wandering the halls.
Such a great response.
And Dr. Bellwether just nods and says, "Good. I dislike competition."
That is so good.
He is bringing all his historical eccentric baggage, and the Parlor House just makes room for it.
And this capacity of the physical space to hold human stories, it connects heavily to another set of literary ancestors.
Who are you thinking of?
Thornton Wilder and the tradition of Elizabeth Goudge and Lucy Maud Montgomery.
Oh, Thornton Wilder makes total sense. I mean, our town is the quintessential exploration of the eternal nature of the mundane.
Exactly. Wilder had this genius for exposing the cosmic vibration beneath ordinary daily actions. Delivering milk, eating breakfast, walking home from choir practice.
Yeah, the profound and the everyday.
Right. And A Summer at the Parlor House captures that identical frequency. Let's look closely at that guest register in the lobby.
Oh, I love the guest register.
It isn't just a prop. Ellis Finch, the elderly concierge, he treats it as a sacred text. He tells Abby that it is a profound record of souls crossing paths.
And he has that incredible line about it.
Yes, he says, arrivals are promises. Departures tell you what happened.
I mean, those two sentences just completely alter the landscape of the story for me. Departures tell you what happened. It reframes a business ledger into an index of human destinies.
And the mechanism there is compression.
How so?
Well, the author takes this massive, unwieldy concept of human change and compresses it into the physical act of signing out of a hotel.
That makes a lot of sense.
And this idea of a space acting as a crucible for change, that brings us right to Goudge and Montgomery. Both of those authors were just masters at creating what we might call nourishing spaces.
Environments that actively heal the broken people who enter them.
Exactly.
Like Green Gables for Anne Shirley.
Precisely like Green Gables. The physical environment actually participates in the healing process. And the Parlor House functions the exact same way. It is a sanctuary for searching, orphaned, or grieving souls.
You really see that in the historical subplot involving Margaret Mercer, Abby's grandmother.
Oh, definitely.
Decades ago, she referred to herself not as the girl who left, but as the girl who comes back.
Such an important distinction.
It is. And the house, with its worn stair rails, its old ledgers, and its careful architectural repairs, it acts as a repository for the heavy stories that these characters are not quite ready to carry themselves.
Right. The building holds the weight until the person is strong enough to carry it again.
But, that requires such a delicate touch from the writer. I mean, how do you make a hotel feel like a living, breathing entity without it coming across as a haunted house or like a cartoon?
That is the big question. It's a vital question of narrative mechanics. Because you have a setting with dozens of characters moving in and out simultaneously.
Right. You have wedding parties, historical societies, family reunions, lost dogs, grieving widows.
Exactly. So how does the author manage that traffic without the narrative just collapsing into total chaos?
You have to orchestrate the pacing perfectly. It's like the inhale and the exhale.
Yes. Let's dissect exactly how the author achieves that inhale and exhale. Look at the transition between the arrival of the Dalton family and the arrival of Walter Green.
Oh, that transition is wild.
The Dalton arrival is constructed using really loud, overlapping active syntax. We have a mother dragging a rolling suitcase with a broken wheel over the limestone threshold.
Bump, bump, bump.
Right. We have a 9-year-old boy loudly reciting facts from an encyclopedia about the Cretaceous period. We have a 6-year-old girl refusing to let go of a stuffed rabbit named Hopscotch.
And we have a father trying to balance a peach pie that has been packed sideways.
Which is just a disaster waiting to happen.
The kids immediately scatter, searching for secret passages behind the velvet curtains and arguing over whether a specific armchair is a volcano or a dinosaur. It is just a hurricane of domestic energy.
And the sentences in that section are long, breathless, and packed with conjunctions to mimic the feeling of being overwhelmed.
You literally read it faster.
You do. But notice the mechanism of the transition. The author employs a hard paragraph break. The noise just abruptly cuts out. The very next sentence is stripped of all action and complex clauses.
It just says, Walter Green stood in the threshold.
Exactly. It's like all the air sucked out of the room, but in the most beautiful, reverent way.
Walter is this small, elderly man traveling completely alone. He's carrying this sticky, worn leather suitcase.
And unlike the Daltons, or really every other guest who walks into that grand lobby and says, oh, as they look up at the chandelier, Walter doesn't say anything.
No, he just looks at the room with a mixture of recognition and deep apprehension.
Right, because he is carrying a bundle of 70-year-old letters. The author drops the pacing from frantic energy to this incredibly quiet, poignant stillness.
It's so effective.
Walter locks eyes with Ellis Finch, the concierge. These are two men who recognize each other from the summer of 1958.
Yeah.
The surrounding chaos of the hotel just fades into the background, and we are left with the massive, silent weight of decades of unsaid history.
We see that same masterful control of tone with Emma Whittaker, too, the young girl who wanders around with her notebook conducting interviews.
And I love him.
She has this green notebook titled Things Hotels Remember, and she goes around asking the staff these very literal, childlike questions.
Right.
She asks Samuel Braddock, what do hotels remember? And he gives a very practical maintenance answer. He says, water, the places it always finds.
Spoken like a true maintenance man.
Exactly. And she asks Rosa, who just sighs and says, dirty towels.
Which functions as wonderful comedic relief. It establishes this really nice rhythm of lightheartedness.
Yeah, it's very cute.
But then, the author breaks the established rhythm. Emma asks Ellis Finch.
And Ellis is standing behind the desk, polishing these heavy brass room keys. He stops what he's doing, looks at this child, and says, the same thing people do. The moments when someone was unexpectedly kind.
And Emma, being a very pragmatic child, asks a devastating follow-up. She says, what if nobody was kind?
And Ellis replies, then the hotel waits.
Wow.
I know. And Emma just quietly writes down in her green notebook, maybe that's why hotels stay open.
The pivot there is just breathtaking.
It really is. It goes from a cute vignette of a kid annoying the staff to a profound philosophical thesis on the purpose of hospitality.
And that pivot is entirely dependent on pacing. If you rush that exchange, it feels melodramatic.
Right.
If you drag it out, it feels preachy. The author lands it perfectly. Which really brings us to the most significant test of pacing in the entire first book, the storm scene.
Okay, I have to admit, I struggled a bit with the summer thunderstorm scene when I first read it.
Really? Why is that?
Well, it hits right when the Reeves wedding rehearsal is supposed to begin in the garden. The sky turns green, the thunder cracks, and the power goes out. The entire hotel goes completely dark.
Very dramatic.
Right, and my immediate reaction was a bit cynical. I thought, a sudden power outage. Isn't that just a convenient, soapy plot device to force all these disparate characters into a room together with candlelight? It just felt a bit engineered to me.
Engineered, perhaps, but think about what that engineering achieves mechanically in the narrative.
Okay, I'm listening.
It isn't just a contrivance to trap characters in an elevator or a parlor. It is a thematic and literal stripping away of the 21st century.
How does a power outage do that exactly?
Well, consider the sensory shift.
Hmm.
When the electric lamps die, the amber emergency lights flicker on, and the staff begins distributing heavy wax candles.
Right, I remember that.
The text specifically notes that without its electricity, the hotel steps backward into its 19th century origins. The shadows gather in the corners of the grand rooms.
Oh, that's true.
The stained glass windows, no longer backlit by modern streetlights, they darken into deep jewel tones. The architecture basically reasserts its original dominance.
Oh, that makes so much sense. The modern pacing is completely neutralized.
Exactly.
Because you have Mrs. Reeves, the mother of the bride, who has been frantically vibrating at a high frequency all day, obsessing over a laminated seating chart.
Yes, driving everyone crazy.
But suddenly the laminate doesn't matter. She has to just follow a flashlight path between the tables like everyone else.
The darkness forces a specific kind of intimacy and stillness that modern lighting just prevents. It forces everyone to catch their breath.
Yeah.
The Dalton children stop running and sit on a rug while Dr. Bellwether uses the shadows to tell them stories about 19th century railway lanterns.
That was such a sweet moment.
It really was. And, crucially, it carves out the quiet, insulated space for Walter Green to stand in the candlelight with Ellis Finch and remember the hotel exactly as it was when they were young men.
Wow. Okay, you've convinced me.
So the storm isn't a cheap plot device. It acts as an architectural feature.
Yeah.
It changes the physical shape of the rooms, removing modern distractions so the 19th century bones of the house and the deepest emotional truths of the characters can finally be seen.
You just completely changed how I view that scene. The storm strips away the modern noise.
Exactly.
And the only reason that storm scene works, that the only reason the darkness feels so heavy and meaningful is because the physical reality of this house has been so meticulously established beforehand.
Oh, absolutely.
You feel the loss of light because the author has already made, exactly what the wallpaper and the floors look and smell like. The sensory immersion in this book is just staggering.
The physical reality of the Parlor House is anchored in highly specific, evocative sensory details. The author doesn't rely on generic descriptors like, it smelled like an old house.
No, we get the exact olfactory recipe.
We do.
When Abby goes down into the basement archive, the text describes the smell of damp limestone mixed with dry cedar, dried lavender, and the sharp tang of machine oil from the boiler room.
You can practically feel the cool basement air on your skin.
You really can. Or the sound of the freight train. It isn't just background noise.
No, it's very intentional.
It's described as a low, mournful whistle rising from the river bluff. It acts as a metronome for the town. Margaret Mercer says that listening to that train proved to her that leaving and returning were made of the exact same sound.
That is just beautiful writing. And the visual precision is equally deliberate. Consider the arrival of the wedding flowers.
Oh, the flower.
They aren't just white roses or yellow roses. Mrs. Reeves is furious because they aren't stark white. But Sophie, the sister of the bride, touches the petals and describes them as looking like butter. Elegant butter.
Elegant butter. It's such a strange, specific combination of words, but the moment you hear it, you know exactly what color she means.
You really do.
It's a rich, creamy, slightly heavy yellow.
It evokes texture as much as color. We see this again in the description of the morning light filtering through the stained glass window on the main stair landing.
That scene is so vivid.
The text states that the light casts shapes of amber and green across the oak floorboards that looked almost solid enough to pick up.
That is such a brilliant way to describe light. By suggesting you could pick it up, the author gives the atmosphere physical weight.
Exactly.
You aren't just looking at a pretty window. You are wading through thick, tangible history.
And the author goes beyond merely creating an immersive backdrop. The architecture itself becomes the primary metaphor for the human condition, specifically through the character of Charles Ashford.
Yes. Mr. Ashford is the retired architect who checks in, and he spends his time just studying the walls and the moldings.
He is a vital thematic mouthpiece.
He really is.
He is examining a section of the west wall in the library, which we learned was severely damaged decades ago. It was repaired in 1972 by a young architect named Daniel Vail,
who is a man deeply entangled in the tragic history of Ellis, Walter, and Margaret.
Right. And Ashford runs his hand over the brickwork and notes that Vail's repair did not attempt to erase the damage. He left the seam visible. Ashford tells Abby, preservation is not preventing change. It is teaching change to remember what came before.
I mean, that line stopped me in my tracks.
It's powerful.
Because if we lift that out of a book and apply it to life, to anyone listening right now, we all have our own structural damage.
We all do.
We have grief, mistakes, shattered relationships, years we wish we could do over. And the modern instinct, much like modern hotel management, is to paint over it.
To hide it.
To sand it down, flush with the wall so no one can see the seam, to present a flawless facade and pretend we were never broken.
But the author uses Daniel Vail's masonry as a profound psychological truth. An honest repair honors the survival of the structure.
Right.
Daniel Vail didn't try to make a house that had been battered by time look brand new. He made it look like a house that had survived its own history.
Which is exactly what every character in this book is trying to do with their own internal lives.
Exactly.
They are trying to figure out how to leave the seams visible without the house collapsing. And exploring those internal lives brings us to the author's mastery of emotional restraint.
This is one of my favorite aspects of the book.
The things left unsaid in this book carry more weight than the dialogue. And that restraint relies entirely on the choice of the point of view character, Abby Mercer.
Let's analyze that choice. Why is Abby Mercer the perfect lens for this narrative?
Well, she isn't a detective. She isn't actively trying to solve a grand mystery.
No, she just graduated from college. She's standing behind a front desk handing out room keys.
But her psychological state is key.
Very much so.
The text notes she is facing the frightening freedom of not knowing what comes next. Because her own future is a terrifying blank slate, she has emptied herself out. She is in a state of high reception.
Yes. The author describes her superpower brilliantly. She listens with her whole face.
I love that phrase.
Because she is in transition, she is hyper-attuned to the transitions, the griefs, and the hidden joys of the guests passing through the lobby. She acts as an emotional tuning fork.
She notices what people are protecting. She sees what they are desperately avoiding. And because she observes so quietly, the author doesn't have to spell out the emotional subtext.
No, the reader gets to discover it alongside her.
And the best example of this is Mrs. Reeves, the mother of the bride.
Let's look at the mechanics of the Reeves subplot. Mrs. Reeves is objectively behaving terribly.
Oh, she's awful at first.
She is micromanaging the staff, arguing with the florist over the elegant butter roses, and agonizing over the seating chart as if it were a military operation.
She is the quintessential nightmare mother of the bride.
In a standard, plot-driven novel, she would simply serve as a foil, right? An antagonist to create friction for the protagonist to overcome.
Just an obstacle.
But the author exercises massive restraint by withholding the reason for her behavior until a very quiet, private moment between Abby and the bride, Natalie.
And Natalie doesn't give a melodramatic speech. She just casually explains to Abby that her mother is fussing over the seating chart because she physically cannot articulate the suffocating reality that her husband is dead and will not be walking their daughter down the aisle.
It's devastating.
It is. Natalie shares a memory. She says that when her mother used to get anxious, her father wouldn't try to fix it with grand gestures. He would go into the kitchen and make tea. But he would make it very slowly.
Very slowly.
He would intentionally bumble around, arguing with the cabinets, making a bit of noise, just to give his wife's anxiety a different focal point.
It is the ultimate execution of show, don't tell. The author conveys the entire depth of a decades-long marriage and the absolute devastation of widowhood, not through weeping dialogue, but through the memory of a man intentionally taking too long to boil water.
Yeah.
It highlights the profound intimacy of ordinary routines.
And what does Abby do? She doesn't hug Natalie and offer platitudes. She goes straight into the kitchen, finds the specific teapot that pours badly, and takes it out to Mrs. Reeves to make tea very slowly.
It is so deeply moving because it's so incredibly restrained.
It really is. The narrative trusts you to feel the grief without being told to cry.
And we see that identical structural restraint during the climax of the historical subplot involving Paul Mercer and the cedar chest.
Oh, this scene is a masterclass in respecting character dignity.
It really is.
Abby calls her father Paul because she has found hidden evidence regarding his mother, Anne, and his grandmother, Margaret. Paul drives through a thunderstorm, bringing with him this heavy, locked cedar chest that belonged to his mother.
The tension in that scene is incredible.
Right. When they finally gather in the hotel library to open it, they crack the seal and find Anne's private teenage journal.
Observe the choice the author makes here. The conventional dramatic choice would be for Paul to dramatically open the journal and read the most explosive secrets aloud to the gathered room, instantly resolving the plot.
But he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He touches the cover of the journal, looks around the room, and asks for time alone. He says, I need to read this before we make it part of the room.
The psychological realism there is profound. He is protecting his mother's vulnerability.
Even though she's been gone for a while.
Exactly. Even though she is long dead, he recognizes that a teenage girl's heartbreak is private. He wants to ensure she would have wanted these words shared before he exposes her inner life to an audience.
The narrative prioritizes human dignity over cheap, immediate plot resolution.
The respect for the characters is palpable, and it culminates in the scene on the porch swing between Ellis Finch and Walter Green.
Oh my goodness, this scene.
These are two men who have been carrying around a mountain of bitterness, misunderstanding, and heartbreak over Margaret Mercer since 1958.
A lifetime of it.
Walter believed Ellis was keeping Margaret's return a secret. Ellis believed Walter had callously abandoned them both. They have let this fester for decades.
So when the truth finally comes out, how does the author resolve a lifetime of misplaced anger?
Well, not with a screaming match. Not with a weeping, cinematic embrace in the rain.
No, they sit next to each other on the wooden porch swing. Walter simply says he is taking the train back to Wichita on Tuesday.
And Ellis, a man who famously hasn't taken a day off in 40 years, looks out at the river and says he might visit Wichita in August.
And then Walter holds out his ceramic coffee cup. Ellis touches his own cup to it. The author writes, "The gesture was smaller than reconciliation and larger than memory."
It is a stunning sentence. Smaller than reconciliation and larger than memory.
It's beautiful.
The author trusts you, the reader, to feel the massive tectonic plates shifting beneath that tiny clink of porcelain. They don't overwrite it, because the architectural foundation of their shared history has been so meticulously laid over the previous chapters.
It's breathtaking. And all of the sensory details, the restraint, the architectural metaphors, it all points toward one central question, which really forms at the core of why this book resonates so deeply.
Which is?
Why do we want to return? Why is this fictional hotel exerting such a strong gravitational pull on us?
I believe it comes down to the philosophy of comforting fiction, and how this text specifically defines the art of hospitality.
The preface of the book actually gives us the thesis statement right away. It says, hospitality is not chiefly the business of providing beds. It is the art of receiving people at the moment they arrive.
That phrase, "at the moment they arrive," is a profound theological and psychological concept.
Oh, do you mean?
Well, modern culture demands that we curate ourselves, right? We are expected to arrive, having already done the work, having figured out our baggage, presenting only our best, most optimized self.
Oh, for sure. Everything is filtered.
True hospitality, as practiced at the Parlor House, is the act of receiving someone exactly in the messy, unresolved state they are currently in.
They don't have to fix themselves before they walk through the door.
Exactly.
Think of Mrs. Whitaker, Emma's mother, who arrives with a color-coded, heavily laminated itinerary for a college visit because she is terrified of the unplanned and the unknown.
Or the night owls.
Oh, the night owls. Those elderly journalism friends who arrive bickering over slights that happened in the 1980s.
The hotel doesn't ask them to be different. It just pulls out a chair for them. That is why comforting fiction matters. It offers the reader a place to be received, just as they are. When you read this book, you feel personally welcomed.
It nourishes the imagination by reinforcing the idea that every stranger has a profound story and that the most ordinary lives constantly conceal extraordinary grace.
We have to look at Rosa Delgado one more time.
Always happy to talk about Rosa.
She is down in the linen closet, folding sheets. It is the most repetitive, invisible, unglamorous task in the entire hotel ecosystem. And yet, she delivers what is arguably the most staggering piece of wisdom in the text.
Abby goes down to the linen closet feeling lost about her future and asks Rosa about the difference between being needed and belonging.
And Rosa, without stopping her work, replies, "Being needed makes you afraid everything will fail without you. Belonging allows you to leave and believe there will still be a place when you return."
Wow. It's hard to even read that without needing to take a breath.
It's incredible.
It strikes right at the heart of our deepest human anxiety, the fear that our worth is entirely transactional, the fear that if we stop being useful, if we stop producing, we will be discarded.
Rosa articulates a theology of grace. Belonging isn't about what you do. It is the rock-solid assurance that your place at the table is held for you, even in your absence.
And that anxiety of losing one's place is the engine of the entire historical plot.
He really is.
It is what Margaret Mercer learned too late. It is what Daniel Vail tried to explain in his hidden letter, and it is what Anne struggled with her entire life. The Parlor House operates as a physical manifestation of a longing. It holds your place.
So why are we so eager to spend more time here? Why do we want to book a room for episode 2?
Because the Parlor House reminds us that our own lives, our own messy, unlaminated guest registers, are filled with cosmic meaning.
Exactly.
This book creates a beautiful place that nourishes the imagination, reminding us that grace rarely arrives with a trumpet blast. It wears a very ordinary coat.
It looks like a maintenance man with a pry bar, or a manager with an untied shoe.
Or a young woman at the front desk offering you a green fountain pen to sign your name.
Beautiful places in fiction, whether we are talking about Hogwarts or Narnia or Avonlea or the Parlor House, they often get dismissed by cynics as mere escapism.
Oh, I hate when people do that.
Right. But true comforting fiction does not serve as an escape from reality. It serves as a lens to help us see the magic and weight of our actual reality.
Yes.
It teaches us how to look at our own homes, our own difficult family members, our own tedious daily routines, and recognize the quiet, constant presence of grace moving through them.
It doesn't help us escape. It helps us see. That is the perfect distillation of why this book matters.
As we wrap up this analysis, I want to leave everyone listening with a final thought to mull over, drawing directly from the text.
Please do.
Think about young Emma Whitaker sitting in the sunlit breakfast room, writing in her green notebook. She discovers that physical buildings absorb the lives lived inside them. The walls hold the kind words, the unspoken grief, the apologies, and the honest repairs.
Yeah.
So, looking up from the book and looking around your own life, I ask you, if the spaces we inhabit absorbed our kindness, our grief, and our quietest moments of grace, well, what is your own home remembering about you today?
What a beautiful, heavy question to carry into the rest of the week. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive today. Thank you for pulling up a rocking chair on the veranda, for looking out at the river with us, and for exploring the profound humanity of this incredible story. Consider this a standing, heartfelt invitation to return. The porch light is always on, the coffee will be ready, and we will be waiting right here for you to explore episode 2.